What's going on, guys? Pegasus and the Wise Guys. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you sub, make sure you hit the bell, come in, close the door. It's good to see you. I specifically wanted to talk about the reprints that we just saw. We just saw Lightning Storm. You obviously have seen Divine Arsenal, AA Zeus, and the other ones are just absolutely ridiculous. But of course, we got to mention Call by the Grave, which seemingly has a random artwork that's going to tie into some live twin stuff. And I'm just going to stop talking and get into the reason why you're here. And that's the text. Because the game is ongoing. It's good to see you. Let's get it. So guys, as always with these texts, they either stick or they don't. Let's talk about it. First card I want to talk about is Shaddoll Fusion. And Fusion Summoning right now is obviously known about. And sometimes you may have a deck that it may be even a lose more card. You're going to lose even more or lose even harder if your deck already kind of dies off to barrier and getting barriered out of fusions. However, a card like Shaddoll Fusion to be able to add specific bricks, and they're definitely bricks because they're still Shaddolls and it's 10 years later and they're still bricky. But we got to talk about cards like Genius as dump targets, as well as a card like Ariel to essentially set up not only a schism, which, you know, Winda might not catch on in this format simply because Bystials are just flat out better. Let's just be honest. The Druid's Worm is just going to eat a Winda. And it's a little bit too slow. However, if Bystials ever get hit, this definitely will take off even more. But anyways, guys, dumping the Genius to then make a card where it's essentially unaffected by monster effects that turn means it's unaffected by the Deadener that's on the other side of the field. Additionally, you have cards like Ariel being dumped that we talked about, which can get rid of any type of threats inside of the graveyard, or trigger cards to be able to trigger more cards like Your Talents and Your Thrust. Definitely, guys, it's up to you. It's probably not as good as those hand traps, but just in case your deck can maybe fit it in, I would try it. Next card I want to talk about, you guys know about Dragon Link because you watched it on our page. Shout out to Devin and shout out to the Wise Guys. But we got to talk about Full Metal Dragon. Full Metal Dragon is another card that we got to talk about because when you use the Max Metamorph inside of your deck, tributing off a level 5 or higher dragon monster, that means that you can have an Omni Negate essentially and a big 3,800 body that's going to come out onto the field and make your life a living hell, as well as hand them a negate. Now, the tributing to summon this card can additionally trigger a card like Druid's Worm to be able to send a special summon monster to the graveyard. So do what you will with that. Additionally, with Saronir and all of the other effects that Bystials primarily do. Ally of Justice Cycle Reader is a card that has been popping up inside of deck lists, at least in the OCG, and it was kind of strange to observe them, but what I have noticed is that Ally of Justice Cycle Reader really isn't as bad as you think, and it really has popped up because Blue Eyes has become not necessarily the meta deck, but it's definitely, as well as some other light decks, you guys know about Melodious over in the TCG and other cards like that, as well as the Fiendsmith engine. Ally of Justice Cycle Reader can kind of counter Bystials in a way, in case that they target their own cards in their own graveyard, it can screw them over, as well as get rid of two problems at the exact same time. Gee, it's almost like Requiem, and Engraver should have something to worry about. Last but not least, we got to talk about Psyframes. The Psyframe package, everybody already knows about this. We all have our hearts broken because we're all still dealing with Shifter. I still love Shifter, but you know, I'm on that side of the equation. But on the other side of the equation is people that are really, really tired of losing to Shifter decks. And Psyframe Gear Gamma being at 1 definitely hurts. So why am I mentioning Gamma is because Delta can additionally be a target inside of the deck that you could possibly try and get somewhere with. Because of the sheer amount of power spells inside of the game, need I say more? It's definitely something that you should think about as well. Guys, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. As always, we do these texts just to mention them, just because we've seen it in so many different games, so many different events that we've been traveling to. And make sure that you tune into all the profiles and all the other content coming down the pipeline. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. I'm out. Arrivederci.